Welcome back to EtherLink AI Insights. I'm Alex, and today we're diving into something that's reshaping how businesses operate across Northern Europe. We're talking about AI Chatbot Implementation, specifically in Oulu, Finland, a city that's become a real powerhouse in the tech world. Sam, you've been looking at this guide on AI chatbots for Oulu businesses in 2026. What's the headline here?
Thanks, Alex. The headline is simple but powerful. By 2026, 85% of customer service interactions are going to be handled by AI chatbots globally, and Nordic companies are already leading that charge at 73% year-over-year growth. But here's what makes Oulu interesting. It's not just adopting chatbots, it's doing so in a way that's compliant with the EU AI Act. That's a huge competitive advantage.
Okay, so Oulu isn't just jumping on the AI bandwagon, it's doing it right from a regulatory standpoint. Why does that matter so much? I mean, compliance sounds important, but how does it translate to real business value?
Great question. Gartner found that 62% of EU enterprises that implement AI solutions before the full AI Act enforcement kicks in will reduce compliance costs by up to 45%. Think about it. If you build your chatbot system to be compliant from day one, you avoid expensive retrofits later. That's not just regulatory, that's a business economics play.
So it's like building to code from the start, instead of fixing violations after the fact. That makes sense. Let's talk about the Oulu context itself. What's happening in that city that makes chatbot implementation particularly relevant right now?
Oulu's got over 800 ICT companies and generates $2.1 billion annually in tech sector revenue. The employment growth there was 12% between 2022 and 2024, and 68% of surveyed companies said AI implementation was the primary driver. You've got major players like Supercell and Remedy Entertainment operating there, plus a bunch of smaller software and automation firms. These aren't companies that can afford to fall behind on customer service innovation.
That's a pretty sophisticated market. They're competing globally, not just locally. So what are the actual business outcomes we're seeing from companies that have already made this move in Oulu?
The numbers are really impressive. A survey by the Ulu Chamber of Commerce looked at 47 tech companies that deployed AI chatbots. They found average cost savings of 42% in customer support operations and a 31% improvement in employee productivity. And these aren't marginal gains. We're talking about real money and meaningful workforce reallocation.
42% is substantial. That's not a nice-to-have optimization. That's a transformational change. But I'm curious, those numbers, are they typical across the Nordic region, or is Oulu outperforming?
Oulu's actually matching or exceeding regional benchmarks. The McKinsey 2024 Global AI Survey shows Nordic enterprises at 78% implementation of conversational AI versus 45% globally. They're seeing 38% reduction in response time, 52% improvement in customer satisfaction within 6 months, and averaging $2.4 million in annual ROI per enterprise. Oulu's 42% cost savings actually sits right there in that zone, maybe even slightly ahead because of the local tech density.
So the Nordic region as a whole is crushing this adoption, and Oulu is part of that trend. But let's get practical. If I'm a business owner in Oulu, maybe I run a mid-sized software firm or a healthcare provider, what does implementation actually look like? Where do I start?
That's the key question, and here's where the EU AI Act compliance angle comes back in. You don't start by building a generic chatbot off the shelf. You start with AI lead architecture consultation. That's about mapping out what your chatbot needs to do, how it handles customer data, what languages it needs to support, and how you make sure it's compliant from inception. For Oulu companies operating internationally, multilingual support is critical anyway.
So consultation is almost table stakes. You're essentially designing the compliance architecture before you write the first line of code. That sounds expensive up front, but I imagine it saves headaches and money later.
Exactly. And here's the thing. Local companies like Kaleido AI and Akorexa that are already based in Oulu have proven this works. They've reported 40% cost reduction in support and 35% improvement in first contact resolution. Those aren't theoretical numbers. Those are real Ulu companies doing this right now.
First contact resolution is huge for customer satisfaction. If your chatbot can actually solve the problem on the first interaction instead of routing to a human, that's a game changer. Let's talk market outlook. You mentioned some growth projections earlier. What does the market look like through 2028?
The Finnish AI chatbot market hit $127 million in 2024 and is projected to reach $385 million by 2028. That's 31% compound annual growth. Ulu represents roughly 18% of that market value. So we're looking at a market that's more than tripling in size over the next 4 years, with Ulu being a significant hub for that growth.
That's explosive growth. And that growth is probably attracting more investment, more talent, and more competition to Ulu. For businesses that haven't moved on chatbot implementation yet, the window for early mover advantage is probably closing, right?
Absolutely. Early movers get two things. They build compliance architecture while regulations are still being finalized, and they establish customer experience leadership while competitors are still figuring out the basics. By 2026, when 85% of interactions are AI handled, you want to be known for having the best system in your category, not scrambling to catch up.
What about the language dimension? You mentioned multilingual support is critical for Ulu companies. How does that factor into chatbot implementation and cost?
It's both a challenge and an opportunity. Finnish companies are inherently multilingual. They operate across Nordic markets and often globally. A good chatbot platform handles Finnish, Swedish, English, and other Nordic languages natively. The cost doesn't scale linearly. Enterprise platforms support multiple languages without dramatically increasing implementation costs. But you do need to train the system on language-specific nuances, customer service terminology, and cultural expectations. That's where local expertise, like what AetherBot consultancy provides, really pays off.
So it's not just translation, it's localization with cultural context. That makes sense for a company trying to serve Nordic and European markets. Let me ask about the employee side. You mentioned that 31% productivity improvement by reallocating people from repetitive tasks. How do companies actually manage that transition?
That's the human side that doesn't always make it into the statistics. When a chatbot takes over 40% of routine support tickets, you don't just lay people off. Good companies redeploy that talent. Customer service reps move into specialized roles, handling complex issues, the bot flags, managing escalations, developing new processes. Some move into training and improving the chatbot itself. The productivity gain comes because humans are now doing higher value work, not answering "what's your return policy" for the 100th time that day.
That's a really important point. This isn't about replacing people. It's about using AI to free people up for more meaningful work. For business leaders in Ulu listening to this, what's the core takeaway? What's the one thing they should be thinking about right now?
Start the compliance conversation now. Don't build a chatbot and then worry about EU AI Act requirements in 2026. Talk to consultants about designing a compliant system from the ground up. The 45% cost savings from early compliance is real money. And second, don't think of this as just a cost-cutting play. Think about customer satisfaction and employee experience. Companies reporting the strongest ROI are the ones that use chatbots to improve the entire customer journey.
Smart advice. So it's architecture, compliance, and thinking about it holistically. Listeners, if you want to dive deeper into chatbot implementation specifically for Ulu businesses and EU AI Act compliance, head over to etherlink.ai and find the full article. There's way more detail in there on specific use cases, implementation timelines, and regional resources. Sam, thanks for breaking this down.
Thanks, Alex. It's a great time to be thinking about this in Ulu. The market opportunity is real, the regulatory framework is favorable, and the business case is proven.
That's EtherLink AI Insights. I'm Alex, she's Sam. We'll see you next time.